Why are you arresting me?
So it's in relation to a recklessly caused injury.
To whom?
We can't see the
We don't have
details.
that
It's not recklessly caused, it's an unlawful assault with a scratch to the leg.
Now that's a confronting thing for my children to see me getting arrested and handcuffed and thrown in the back of a van for no reason at all on Good Friday. There wasn't much good about it for me.
It's actually a nice watch.
Is it?
Yeah, if it's real, it's worth maybe 5-6 grand. Is he coming?
Smash the screen.
I'm Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia, here today to catch up with a fellow Victorian who's going to share his ordeal with us that happened to him on Easter Friday while he was travelling in a car with his son near his home. He was pulled over by police, but was smart enough to hit record as they pulled him over.
Okay, do you driver's license, Sonia?
Yeah, what'd you pull me over for?
We're just doing routine intercepts.
Routine intercept. Yep. So no reason at all.
Yeah, routine intercept.
And they arrested me while my child was in the car and said you're under arrest for some reason that I didn't really understand at the time.
All right, there's just an outstanding matter that we need to question you about.
Oh, okay.
So at this point you are under arrest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you don't have to say or do anything, but anything you say or
What's
do
the
may be
matter?
given in evidence. Do you understand that? All right, can you hop out of the car?
Got a child in the car.
You got a child in there?
So is it okay if I ring my wife and get her to come and pick the child up?
Yeah.
Why are you arresting me?
So it's in relation to a recklessly caused injury.
To whom?
We can't see the
We don't have that
details.
information.
So they don't tell me about, they don't do anything to me, but then they...
Well, from that, what it would be is that they've been trying to get in contact with you.
Well, it was only a phone call away. Then they put me in the back of the van and took me to an outer suburbs police station. They left me in the van for a fair while. They drove in a fairly, what I felt was aggressive manner on the way to wherever we went.
Yeah, it looks like just an interview. It won't even be charged. We're not far from Broady. Nah, I reckon we'll just bash it out. No worries. Look, he's very sovereign citizen-y. I imagine the interview is going to be very quick. What's your driving? It was the collision alert. It's been going off all day and she's blaming the collision alert. I've got white knuckles here and, it's the car's fault.
So you're jumping around there, basically. They're driving erratically and laughing about it.
Well, there was nowhere for me to hang on. I couldn't hang on because my hands were behind my back. It's a plastic structure without any sharp edges or anything for obvious reasons, but it's not conducive to a safe ride if you're not seat belted and you've got no way of bracing yourself. So I felt afraid, thinking, what are they going to do? Wrap the car around a tree and die in a burning wreck or something?
And even any sharp turn in those is quite painful. But these are the people that are responsible for enforcing road safety. And here they have somebody in the back that they've taken against their will, without a seatbelt, bouncing around this plastic bucket. It's a bit weird.
It's unconscionable behaviour because they're using their powers that they have as police officers to basically do what they described as a random check, handcuffing someone, putting them in the back of a van for, at this stage, reasons that I didn't understand, and then driving in an erratic way. It would seem that they are trying to enforce the punishment instead of trying to get to the bottom of what their alleged problem was.
Now, do you have a long criminal history?
I don't know now that I got arrested randomly for no reason. I didn't know there was a warrant out for my arrest. No one communicated that to me, but I have never been charged and convicted with any offence ever other than road traffic offences.
What's his history?
Nothing.
Why is he such a good police then?
So you've got no violent criminal history. You've been arrested on your street. You've been taken in the car, driven erratically to the police station. Now, there wasn't an arrest warrant. There was a whereabouts order?
They described it to me as there was a whereabouts order had been issued, or a find and talk to order, or some order that wasn't actually a formal arrest warrant. So, I mean, can the police just say to anyone that they want to speak to, well, we'll just arrest them when they're driving around on Easter Friday on a public holiday and take them to an outer suburbs police station, and then they'd still never really told me what they wanted. I still don't know what they really wanted.
So you've given this, well, I guess they would call it a no comment interview. You didn't answer their questions.
I invoked my right to silence pursuant to finding out precisely what they wanted to know. They refused to ask me any questions or give me any information, and the instructions that I have from my solicitors, not that I've really got a criminal history, but I have solicitors that I work with in my business and my day-to-day work, and their advice is always call the solicitor and don't answer any questions, invoke your right to silence. If anyone's ever going to make a charge, you should get them to make that charge in writing. Your chances of talking yourself out of any trouble are very, very slim. Your chances of talking yourself into trouble, even if you're innocent, are very, very high if you even talk to them. So the advice I have from my solicitors is never talk to them, invoke your right to silence and get a solicitor.
Well, I could have done with that advice my first time. I've learned that the hard way. You're absolutely right. And it turns out they didn't seem to really have anything concrete because you were released without charge. Now, there's two other videos in there or two other parts to the video that caught my attention. One, on the way to the police station, they were referring to you as a sovereign citizen. Now, I'm protecting your identity here because not only are you not a sovereign citizen, you're a successful businessman. Why did they call you that?
Oh, look, I just think it's a disparaging comment that they've made up on the spot. Just on that, there are people who are lawyers and judges and other people in the legal field, and all of those people are clients of mine or work with me in some other capacity in my business. I mean, 50% of what we do is legally related. Yeah. So I'm not a sovereign citizen. I was simply asking the officer, why did you stop me? And what's the nature of your inquiries? And I don't think that's unreasonable.
It's actually a nice watch.
Is it?
Yeah, if it's real, it's worth maybe 5-6 grand. Is he coming?
Smash the screen.
I asked the custody police officer who gave me my belongings back how it got scratched. He said he doesn't know.
Sign it.
What am I signing for?
The stuff, so that we're giving it all back.
I haven't seen it. I don't know what you're giving me.
All right, disc, watch.
Can I see the watch, please? Yeah. How to get scratched? I'm not signing that.
Then he doesn't get it.
Under duress, I've got to sign it before
Well,
I give it back.
You've got a sign to say you've got the property back so you don't leave and say that we didn't give it back to you.
We've already damaged my watch and scoffed about that. I'm signing it under duress then. Give it here.
Sign there to say that you've got that property back.
The recording does show people talking about admiring the watch and talking about perhaps damaging it for some reason.
And the cost. They were talking about that. They were evaluating the cost
of the watch, which was quite accurate. I don't know why anybody could call themselves acting in a professional manner, whether they did scratch it, which I say they did, or whether they were joking about it when they've got a human being in custody. It's inappropriate behaviour.
Why do you think it's important to talk to me about it now?
Because what we have here is a failure of leadership at many, many, many levels, and we simply cannot have people getting given guns and badges and a carte blanche to go around arresting whomever they want and then acting in an inappropriate fashion by driving erratically, using disparaging comments and damaging personal property. We cannot have it because that is a failure of leadership and it creates a situation where there's no accountability.
Well, I watched your interview, and the alleged incident that they were talking about happened on the 26th of May, they allege, in 2022.
That's not a fucking... You're not even charging him on this.
No, it'll be another. I'm assuming that they're relying on like a photo board, but it's so old now that the victim's not going to fucking remember. At least he's going to be no comment.
He's going to be a real pain in the ass. How do you know it was me?
No, I reckon he'll just do no comment.
You don't mind picking up someone that's worth it, but this is going to go nowhere.
Tim and I got one super similar. Like,
not been able to get onto them. They were a passerby only. I believe we only had the one call for it.
a file from 2022. The person clearly hadn't done anything with it. It seems pretty clear that they hadn't sent the file across to Avondale Heights for them to attempt arrest. And there really wasn't enough evidence to even suggest that he was the one. The person just thinks that it was him, but it's not like.
Oh really?
Yeah, like there was
Almost shouldn't even be a whereabouts.
Almost shouldn't even have been a file to begin with. Seems very civil.
Took them 2 years to issue this whereabouts flag, which is not an arrest warrant, it's a stop and talk.
Okay.
You did the interview. Well, you didn't talk to them because
They gave up.
You're cleverer than I was the first time I'd ever been confronted by law enforcement in similar fashion. But they've interviewed you on Good Friday, arrested you, interviewed you about an incident that they claim may have happened 2 years ago.
What, did they get into like a brawl or something?
This one?
Yeah. I can't remember what I read.
So, bike rider overtakes car, and then car goes past bike rider and swears at him. So bike rider pulls up next to him and goes, "Were you swearing at me?" Then I think some altercations happened, which was next to nothing. And then the bike rider goes to take a photo of car driver's number plate. Car driver tries to get around bike rider, knocks bike rider falls over.
I'll arrest him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Him, I'll arrest him for that.
Yeah, it's fine. This one, but I'll also say the bike rider, just fucking who cares if someone's
it's more
swearing.
well, yeah, like get the over it.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's more careless driving. I would have just given him a pin for careless driving.
How has the incident affected you?
Well, I now know that police can't be trusted to act in an appropriate fashion. I now know that a lot of what they do isn't around resolving problems or finding out the truth or anything like that. It's all about going through a process and pursuing their own agendas that they want to achieve on their own. It's got nothing to do with positive policing outcomes. There were 12 or 15 officers at the station all tied up for 2 hours or whatever the total time was, 2 or 3 hours. I think the total ordeal was about 3 hours all up, but I was actually in handcuffs for about 2 of those hours. And these are supposed to be Victoria's best and brightest crime solvers. They can't use a phone, they can't use an email address, they can't look me up on the internet, they can't do all of these things to get in touch with me. Instead, they take resources off the road to take someone to an outer suburbs police station to ask them no questions. They didn't ask any questions about the alleged incident. They gave up.
I don't understand. They've got his address. How this hasn't been dealt with sooner.
Because I don't think he lives at that address anymore.
That's where his
Is
wife
that-
just came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll never trust the police again. I'll never go near them or trust them again. And my advice to anyone hereafter would be, if you've got to give them your name and your name and your ID, do it. But other than that, don't speak to them until you've got a lawyer, even if it's going to ruin your weekend or whatever, because you'll only talk yourself into more strife.
If you think it's important for the world to see how Victoria Police are still behaving even without the cover of COVID, make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share it far and wide, because there's no way the mainstream media will tell any such story. Hell, they protected the government through COVID, and right now they've got zero incentive to let people know what's happening on our streets every single day. So it's up to you to get it out there far and wide. And if you enjoy this sort of content, if you think it's important for us to tell the stories that the mainstream media refuses to tell, head over to buildourstudio.com, because this is an exciting project where we're going to bring so much more local content to you and around the world. BuildOurStudio.com. We're about 43% of the way to building our brand new state-of-the-art studio here in Melbourne to tell the other side of the story. BuildOurStudio.com. All the details are there. We cannot do it without you. BuildOurStudio.com.